Welcome, everyone, to our limited edition show, bringing two worlds together and launching Born to Shine and the Living Word in one place. I am your co host, Genevieve Dowling, and next to me is my beautiful co host and sister,
Josie growing.
we are so grateful that we received a call from God, that it was time to share our voices in a new way, to welcome you into our inner world of healing, love, success, and the divine. Thank you for being here and riding the waves of authenticity. We may laugh, cry, we might even speak another language, and that's what being present and real is. Isn't that what the world needs more of, anyways? Let's dive in. Stiff and so intense and sad. No, the opposite.
Well, I'm good, thank you. Let's take a deep breath in all together. Let's take another one. Healing for me is taking a little pause, a break of knowing what I need in that moment. But to know that I needed to heal, and I think that healing is a constant journey because we we talked on last episode that we had to go fast, we had to go at that pace of the others, but we have different path, we have different time. So healing for me, it is something that is part of my life on a daily basis now. And I know that it's part of my growth. That if we don't heal, it's just putting a band-aid over a band-aid over a band-aid, and that womb will just gonna come back. And this is, you cannot just close your eyes on it. You need to heal, you need to go there, and it's sometimes it hurts and sometimes it's very strong and it's very painful. And I know that you guys are listening and you've been through a lot, we've been through a lot, and this is why we're here today, because we decide that we want to talk with a open heart and be able to be vulnerable. For me, healing is also that word, be able to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is something that we've been taught that it's like weak, that it's something that is bad almost, and even in manhood, but even a strong woman. But no, not at all. We need to go there to then understand what's going on, what's wrong, more than wrong, what happened to us, because sometimes we can come out, from our from a childhood, and many things that happen that we don't even I would say that we don't even remember. But this is something that happened and it's inside of you. And sometimes we don't understand why we repeat the same patterns. But if we want to break those patterns, we need to go there and heal this part of us that is inside, that is still there, to deprogram, to reprogram. So healing for me is a constant journey of growing and to be capable of stopping, pausing, to then move to the next level.
It's powerful. And what you just said reminds me of one of my favorite words, observation. And a lot of times we think of healing as something's wrong, now I have to fix it. Like you said, the Band-Aid. Yet what would it look like to change the lens and look at healing as restoration, as rejuvenation? We're getting, every day that we live, we're getting older. And so even if we're looking at staying youthful, having more energy, that's healing also in a different way. And I love what you said about we all have our own journey and our own timelines. And what happens a lot of the time, I've done that too, is we close our eyes on something that's really painful when we don't have capacity. And capacity to me means if you're moving so fast, you're like, it's like I just picture these fast cars on the highway. You can't observe anything. Everything's fuzzy, everything's foggy. And so, like you say, the power of the pause, when we can stop and start to observe without shame. I mean, that's another word.
And what is the fun of going so fast? What is the rush? We talk a lot about that. What is the rush of just wanting to go to the destination if you don't enjoy the road? If you don't just see the fast car, and you cannot even sometimes we go to a destination to the other and you don't understand how you got there. But this is also for me, this highway that you're mentioning in that image of like, this is the healing part. And healing is understanding. It's healing. It's part of growing also. So, but Jen, I know that like vulnerability is something that you've been working a lot on, and I know that you've been going through a big process, and even yesterday, that I'm so happy that if you want to share with our audience a little bit more about what happened or what you're going through, and because this is something that we want to be open heart on this show, and if you like to share something about it.
Isn't timing incredible?
Yes.
Yesterday, so I went for it had been 2 years since I had gone to the gynecologist. I'll explain why, but 2 years since I had gone, and yesterday was my checkup right before filming this episode. And at the end of I'm standing on the sidewalk with my boyfriend sobbing, like crying, ugly crying of gratitude. And there comes Josi in her truck, drives right up beside, enough time to come out, hug me. And it felt like this completion. And so let's backtrack a few steps. And when I first came to Mexico, I knew that it was time for me to pause, but I didn't know how. And for the last 5 years prior to that, I had been diagnosed, and I say it with bunny ear quotations with my fingers because I do not believe that we should be taking diagnoses and creating stories around them. Like my partner always says, it's just information.
Correct.
And so they had diagnosed me with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I didn't have a period for 9 years.
Wow.
They had, I was hospitalized once. I had to go through emergency surgery. And then the only thing they told me to do was get a full hysterectomy, 25 years old, that me even thinking of having kids one day, it was dangerous. And they sent me home with morphine. That was my experience. And so I knew that it was up to me to figure out what had created this in the first place. And you know what you said about the observation, we compartmentalize. If there's something wrong with the body, we hyper-focus on the body. If there's something wrong with our emotions, we hyper-focus on the body. If there's something wrong with the mind, we hyper-focus on the body. But it's not just the body. The body is a reservoir. The body is what holds all of these emotions and traumas and experiences that we may not deal with in the moment. The body holds it. It's incredible what we do as humans. And so when I recognized that I had 86 cysts on my ovaries at 25 years old, 2 fibroids that were 6.8 centimeters in diameter, and I watched my father at 59 years old as a healer pass away within 4 or 5 months from cancer, it woke me up. And I said, if not now, when? And it has to be me. So I went on a very beautiful journey the last 2.5 years, and my number one focus was myself. Fast forward to yesterday. I went back to the doctor who told me 2 years ago, he goes, a woman of your age that has this much going on in her ovaries, it would be almost impossible for it to, and as I say that, I looked up and you took the word impossible and split it up to I'm possible. Wow. So he told me it would be impossible. So I go back and he goes in and he kind of rolls his eyes. Have you been doing your alternative therapies? And I said, yes, I have. And he brought it up on the big screen. 86 cysts down to 3. None on my left ovary.
86 to 3.
I know.
Oh my God.
God is good.
God. Yes, God is good all the time.
And my fibroid shrank from 6.8 centimeters to 5.3. And I mean, last night I cried and cried and cried gratitude because it's proof that we as humans are capable of anything. We have this pharmacy within our own body if we learn how to activate it.
It's incredible.
And I'm just so grateful now to have the right tools to know exactly what to do over the next 6 months to shrink this fibroid. And at the end of it, the doctor who told me I should do surgery looked at me and said, keep doing what you're doing.
It's working.
And so that was an amazing
I'm so
moment.
proud of you, Jen. And, like you've been putting the work on, because a lot of people also sometimes we want to have the result, but it's not going to happen just like that. You've been putting all the work. You've been doing the therapy. You've been seeking for alternative, also like medicine to know what you need. because sometime also in our journey of healing, we get lost, we get like also scared, and it's normal. But this is, like you said, a lot of emotion of like, it's like a tornado that is inside of us, that like, okay, am I dying? It's not going to be possible. How I'm going to make it happen in my life, my dreams, my goals, etc. So it's just like a big tornado. But then also we start like hearing from and also like the medicine, like the chemical and all those stuff that like they try to put inside of operation, a drastical, solution, but we want to fix it.
It's so true.
But again, I go back to the image that you just gave us about the highway, like if you just observe and pause, and this is what you did 2 years ago. You said, what's going on, and how can I get better, but really better, not just fix it with a Band-Aid.
And last night, actually, that reminds me of the observation, because now it's a new lens of observation. And I'll be honest, I was scared to go back. I put it off for like 6 months. I was so afraid to go back because I'm like, what if it didn't work? But, again, it's just information. And I sat at home last night and I looked at my partner and I said, right now, I'm so grateful to be the woman that I am today, because I think of the young girl who felt so much shame, that the body took the shame and created these fibroids and these cysts in the womb, the mother center, the nurturing center, the female center, the divine feminine center, and created these boulders. And I said, this young girl now gets to be seen for the fear and the shame that she lived for so long, and it no longer has to be the truth. And that's something I also see in you, Josi, because I didn't know we had very similar journeys.
Yes, until few months ago.
Isn't that incredible?
Yes.
And I would love to know that for you,
yes.
you constantly stop to observe.
Yes. Now, yes. Because for me, this was a breaking point in my life for sure when I was in Canada. That in Canada, we've been giving so much hormones since we're very, very young, And I think that women, we keep so much emotion in that area, of our ovaries or of our, and there was another place that I got sick, because of the hormones that were just, I had my period, I was 10 years old, and I always been faster than the others and everything, I was a surprise of this world, my parents got together, and after 2 weeks, my mom was pregnant. They were not together, but they started to be together. So all my life was like faster and faster, but also through moving to the next step of my life, then the doctor like takes some pills, contraceptive. I started to take that very young also, because you think this is the solution, because you think that the system or the society is giving you the right tools but it's not for everyone, but and then all of that put me that I start having some cancer cells in my ovaries. And at the age of 23, I had an operation that was very hard for me, that was very invasive, and I went there to this operation because this is what I knew at that time.
Yeah.
Today, I will say no to that for sure. But at that time, on my 23 years old, when I was back in Canada, and they were like, oh, like I was mentioning, like what they put you in your head, and like this is the solution. This is now. You need to take action.
The fear.
And you're like, okay, well, perfect. Okay, I'll do it. But inside of me, in that intuition, and at that time, I was not following that much my intuition because I was scared. I was young. I was like lack of experience, and I wanted to follow what the doctors, the teachers, or whatever they're saying. And but I knew that at that time that was something that mixed up my health, my hormones. And from that day after that, they told me that I was not able to have children, that was, and for me, my dream was always to have like 7 children, like always have a big family and to be a mother. For me, it's still in part of my dreams. And to just fast forward the story, because on my healing process of moving from Canada, of stopping any hormones, taking any hormones, even in the food and the chemical and all that stuff, I knew that one day something would happen that I will be able to heal and to have children. So to just give a little story about that, I went to Bali, Indonesia, like 6 years ago, and I went to see a guru, and he's like, "Do you have any question?" I'm like, "Well, I went through this and that, and I feel inside of me there's a possibility, but do you see that I can have children?" And he told me something that gave me a snap in the face. He said, Yes, I see a lot of children around you, but the day that you will take care enough of yourself.
Wow.
And for me, that was the open eyes of like, okay, it's so true, because I take care of so many people, of my family, of my friends, of my employees, etc. But do I very much focus on me? No. So this is that day I started focusing more on me, on my healing. And then moving from Mexico was part of my healing. It was part of the detachment of being there for all the others, but not being there for me. And after that also, in the last episode, on episode 1, I was talking that I was a lot in the hospital even, because I was stressed and everything. And then when I moved to Mexico, I started, I don't want to be in those traditional medicine. I want to explore new, because I believe that there's much more inside of me, like you said, my own medicine, and maybe find some little tools that can guide me to heal myself. So I started biomagnetism. Biomagnetism is with magnets, because we are water. We are water, and then when we plus one, plus minus, we recalibrate,
Yeah.
recalibrate ourselves, and it's like a pool. Imagine that your body is a pool. What are you gonna check? The first thing, if your water is foggy, you're gonna check the pH. And right now, with everything that we're taking, hormones, and the food, everything that we don't know even, like most of us, like what we're eating until you start getting to know it. Your pH is what's affecting you if you get disease, if you get foggy, if you get any sickness. So when I start this treatment of magnetism with this lady, that she's wonderful, very. I was a little bit scared to talk about that also, because I didn't want it to define myself, that I had this operation, that I have those cancer cell inside of me. For me, it was gone, but it was still not gone inside of my head. Like you said, like about you don't want to go there, you don't want to talk about it anymore, because you want to forget, but also that there's still something inside, So one day after a few treatment, she said, you do want to work on something? And I said, you know what? I've been told that like I cannot have, because I made some tests and everything with the doctor, the gynecologist. At that time, I had a boyfriend that we were thinking maybe later on to have some children. He's like, honestly, it's not, I don't think it's going to be possible, but, maybe thinking about adoption and everything. I'm like, yeah, of course. But like, natural.
Totally.
And finally, I told her that, and we start working on my ovaries, on my uterus. And at that moment, I felt like a little tick inside of me. I didn't say nothing. That was in May. I think it was like 2020. Anyway, and it was for like 5-6 years ago. And then 5 months later, my boyfriend and I, we always like having protection, using condom and everything. And then I started feeling I was taking weight, but like on my legs and everything. And the first thing that our brain thinks, it's mostly on this, unfortunately, negative, So I was like, okay, so I didn't have my period. So I'm like, oh my God, something is happening again, because I've been programmed that I cannot have children. I've been programmed that I was sick, that I was something that is
Something's
inside of
wrong
me,
with us.
something is wrong with me. So I take the appointment with my gynecologist, and he said, oh my God, there's a miracle. I'm like, well, what's going on here? And he said, you're pregnant. I was like, what? I was like, what? You're pregnant? I said, yeah. And then I was like, no, that's not possible. You told me that was not possible, like what's going on? And then I remember that day that I felt the click.
Wow.
And I knew, but I didn't know if I was able or capable to share that, because you always have this little
doubt.
Can I believe it? Right now, more and more I'm more aligned with that, and I want to believe it. I know that if I believe, it's going to happen. But at that time, I was still in my processes of like, like you said, the doubting, and like maybe yes, maybe no. And then from that day, I remember it was a Wednesday. I was in shock. I go back to my house, and then I told my boyfriend that we're in a rough path that day and in that time. And I told him, do you want, like, I'm pregnant? And we were like both in shock. And it took me a few days to understand it, and that like that was real, because I didn't know how to feel. I was in a rough path with my boyfriend, and we didn't know if we're going to keep on going together. So after a few days, just to wrap up that story, after a few days, I sat down. It was the Sunday, like 4 days after, more or less, and I make myself a coffee. Yes, I had some Baileys in it because I say, okay, we're gonna do that. Well, let's have a good coffee, and I start writing a letter to this baby. I said, you know what? Okay, let's do this. I'm accepting you. I'm grateful. I don't know if your father and I will be together, but you will live with so much love, and that's it. And 4 hours after, I'm sorry, I start losing it. And but you know what? I was okay with it because I knew that it came in me to just let me know that it was possible. It was not the right time, but it came to just confirm that my thought that I knew that it was possible, it will happen at the right time. Because, like you said, God is good all the time, and it's not your time, it's not my time, but it's God's time. So trust the process of healing.
You're amazing.
You are
You're
amazing. We are amazing.
mirrors.
Yes.
And your story, I mean, it hits me. It's only the second time I've heard it, and it's so powerful. And the one thing that keeps standing out that you talk about is, and I remember this, it's like, I want to believe, but I'm afraid. But what we know now, and we talk about this a lot, is the power of our thoughts, and we'll never outperform our own mindset. And when I went and did a few in-depth retreats with Dr. Joe Dispenza, because I really wanted to understand the mind, it was then that I realized that we create our reality, but in such, not just the thoughts that we want to hear, the thoughts that we don't recognize are going on behind the scenes when the cars are moving that fast. And what I love is that now, with all of that adventure that you had, the journey, you choose to believe. You choose it's possible. You talk about things like they're already happened. And that is the most powerful thing. We become afraid of our own thoughts, our own truth. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's so much wisdom on this planet now. It's about, are you willing to decide? Are you willing to stay consistent when it gets hard?
Are you willing to plant the positive seeds in your head and truly believe that it will happen, that it's not too good to be true? No, plant this and it will happen. So that's why it's so important to focus on the good and also to plant good stuff in your head.
Always, it's not a practice once a week, it's every single day.
Every single minute.
And thinking about our wombs, right? We've been brought together. Our wombs have gone through this transformation, but also one of the things that has become very important to us is softening into our feminine. And when we talked about this, even on episode 1, about we wanted to prove and do, and we were outperforming everyone in Canada, and then we come here and we slow down. But the slowing down also brought us back into resonance with our feminine, because we were operating so much in our masculine.
So much.
And when you think of that feminine, that softening, what comes to mind right away? What is important to you now operating from that place?
Oh, it's so good because I have 2 brothers. I'm in a middle child, and I've been more masculine than them all my life almost, because my father, they didn't want, like, for example, to play with cars like with my dad. So I was like, my dad was a builder. So I was always like the one helping my dad, and I was pushed to be how we say that, like the tomboy, like the masculine one. So without knowing, but I like to play a sport and everything. So it was, for me, was normal. It was not something that it was bad at all, until I understood that I was unbalanced and I was too much in my masculine, and that I didn't know that was to be feminine. I didn't know how to be on my balance side, that how important it was. Because today that I know how powerful it is to activate my feminine, and this is, we're talking about you men too, because we all have masculine and feminine side. We all have a yin yang inside of us. So when you know how to balance it, this is when the magic happens. And for me, being on my feminine is where my creativity is where my softness, my caring, my loving, it's where, honestly, when I start to rebalance and to be more conscious about that, this is when I had even more result in my life. So because I've been attracting the right people, I learned to say no more because the masculine is go, 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 go. Yes, 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 yes. And for me, the feminine is like, no, not now. Not now. I'll wait a little bit. I'll think about it. And because it's more delicate, and we have so much to give to this world, so much to create. Like you said, we have been created to create. So in creation, for me, yes, it's on my feminine side. It's little things that I start to be more aware, even on my daily life to do. Little things that even if, for example, I'm in my boyfriend, for example, that I sleep on my I'm gonna lean on my left side to be just more like even physical thing, that I can add into my daily life because I own a business. I own many businesses, so I have to be on my masculine side also, because this is where it's helping me to be more firm, to be more disciplined, stuff like that. But at the end, when you find a balance, this is how you don't become overwhelmed, burnout, and everything. So for me, the feminine it's a gift that now that I know how to use it and when to use it, poof.
It's the magic. It's the superpower.
But Jen, you've been a muse for me. And I told you that when we met, and like you helped me a lot to be more on my feminine because you are, for me, a very beautiful woman that is a real, how we can say that, like you connect with the feminine so much, but you're very balanced. And for me, you help me to okay, I want that. I want that. Not I need that. I want that. And I think this is the two things of like you wanting and needing, because when you see you feel I need, you push too strong. So I want that. And slowly I move on my own path, on my own journey, on my own pace of healing that to become more in my feminine. And now look at where we are. We are on that creation part that we can connect with so many people. And I hope it's touching your heart right now. I hope it makes sense to you if you're listening to that. And you can find that balance into you to see where you can be a little bit more in your feminine or also balance your masculine.
Well, I appreciate that, and that means a lot. And it's such big confirmation of this journey because I didn't know what it meant to be in my feminine. I mean, my mom left when I was very young, and I mean, a lot of things resulted from that, a lot of subconscious patterns. We create patterns that we don't know are there. Yet I'll never forget last summer, I went out to my cabin, where the one place we have left from my dad, and I sat on the porch and I looked out at the rolling hills. And I sat there and I started to cry because I realized it was the first time in 34 years, not that long, maybe, we got it when we were 12, but the first time I was actually seeing the landscape. And I share that because I was always so in my head. I was constantly thinking, what is this person thinking of me? Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Am I all of these things constant to the point that the noise was so loud, I didn't even know it was there. And when the noise was constantly rolling in my head, it means that I was disconnected from my body. And the feminine is about our being, is about presence. And when I recognized that, I realized that the biggest work was becoming the observer of the thoughts. And becoming the observer of my thoughts meant I had to be very honest with myself, that I was always in comparison mode and trying to prove my worthiness. And that is a complete insult to the feminine within. And so if you're wondering, where do I start on my healing journey? What do you mean in the divine feminine? This is what I share with my clients. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, take notice of what goes on in your head as soon as you wake up. Maybe it's your grocery list, your to-do list. Maybe it's if you answered your emails. Recognize what the first thing you think about when you wake up. And then once you have it and you recognize it, I invite you to take a moment and say, I hear you, and that's enough.
Yes.
And breathe. And maybe go outside, ground your feet on the ground, maybe do something, and then start recognizing what's the automatic thoughts when you're in the shower, when you're making breakfast, when you're in your car, because that is where to start. Recognize where you are unconscious in your life. And for women, I believe firmly we are constantly running lists of things in our head, and that's keeping us out of feeling, of sensation, of creation. I believe that is so powerful.
So true. So true. Thank you for sharing those tools. This is what I wanted to, before we close this beautiful episode of healing, I would love if you can share a little bit about what else tools that you've been using on this process of healing on your daily basis.
So I do a lot of things. We can get into that in another episode, but it's equal mind, body, spirit. And so there's a lot to do with how we treat our body, the foods we eat, the supplements we take, the technologies that we use, but also for the mind, it's getting control of the mind. If you can get control of the mind, you can get control of your life. The most powerful skill that I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza is sitting down. Our body is a wild animal. It makes me think of your horses. Our body is a wild animal. We have to tame it. And it starts with taking control of the mind. So if you sit down in stillness with maybe a blindfold on, with just nothing, and sit there and start breathing and start focusing on the nothingness, the body's going to be like, oh, I'm itchy. Oh, I'm hungry. I have to pee. All these things. You're going to notice that the wild animal starts to gear its head. It's like a puppy just eating everything, going crazy. And you have to tell it to stop, sit down, and stay.
Whoa, exactly.
And so if that's something that I did for an hour every single day for months, until I can now sit down and my body does not try and go against me. It will stay and it will be present. And I believe that out of all of the things that we do, if you can get control of your mind and even just observe to recognize how wild it is, recognize and be aware of how wild your wild beast of a body is. And then you can start to take the steps to take control. Everything gets easier from there. What would you say would be the most inviting tool?
Oh, there's so much. I think that we can talk about it for the healing process and for many hours or days, because for me, it's part of my daily life, like just to journal, to write about it, to understand what's going on inside of me. Doesn't mean that's wrong, like you said, but like I was mentioning at the beginning, the Band-Aid, to just take off the Band-Aid and to go to the point, that it's the pain point, and to seek for the solution. And yes, I'm gonna share that to close. Ask for help.
Amen, sister.
Because that we're doing this together, and Jen and I on this Born to Shine, and we're living because we ask for help and we help each other. And this is your healing process, my friend. This is our healing journey.
And more God.
And more God. Yes, exactly. And yes, ask for help.
Yes.
And you're not alone. And if you feel alone right now, remember that you have a supreme power. You have God that is there for you. But raise your hand. It's okay to ask for help.
Mic drop.
So thank you very much. And we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey today. We hope you found inspiration, knowledge, and renew a sense of purpose through our conversation. Remember, my dear friends, that you are born to shine, and together we can create a ripple effect on positive change in the world. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe on Spotify and follow us on YouTube. Stay connected with us on Instagram for the behind-the-scene content, update, and gossip, valuable insight. And if this podcast has brought value to your life, please drop a like, share it with your friends, family, and colleagues, and let's spread the love. Join us in 15 days as we welcome you and share together. Until then, keep shining your light, chasing your dreams, and embracing the magic that life has to offer. I'm Josi Growin, and my co-host sister,
Genevieve Dowling.
And this is the Born to Shine podcast and the living word in one place.